down to move and groove and have some fun today. It's time for music class. It's time for music class. We are singing. Tracking the talker. Crisscross applesauce. Crisscross applesauce. Hands in our lap. Hands in our lap. Voices up. Thank you. Here's what we're doing in our video today. First, we will sing and move to rhythm exercises. Then we will sing solfege, match pitch as we do so. We will discover the life and music of Aaron Copland. And then finally, we will listen to and analyze Hoedown. So you get a choice of what exercise you will do today. I'm going to do squats, I think, just because it's the most visual from where we are. But you can do jumping jacks, you can do arm circles, you can do mountain climbers, squats like me. There's another exercise you can do. We just want to make sure it's very rhythmic, meaning we're moving to some kind of steady beat. Okay. As we do so, we will say the following chant, starting up there, quarter note, one beat, ta, 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 ta. Half note, two beats, and so on and so forth. So everybody can stand up. Find your space. I'm going to just scooch my chair back so I can do my squats. All right, here we go. Quarter note, one beat, ta, 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 ta. Half note, two beats, ta, ta. Whole note, four beats, ta. Eighth notes, half a beat, ti, 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 ti. All right, I'm going to sit down. You keep doing your exercise. You can do the same one or something different. I'm going to do arm circles this time. We're going to go a little bit faster than we just did. Ready? Here we go. Quarter note, one beat, ta, 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 ta. Half note, two beats, ta, ta. Whole note, four beats, ta. Eighth notes, half a beat, ti, 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 ti. All right, and you can relax. We will do those every now and then as we do our movement activity at the beginning of our music video. All right, the next thing we're going to do is sing solfege. So I'll give you a second to look at our little hand symbols. We're going to do something solfege in every video for the next few weeks. When we sing solfege, your job is to make your voice sound like mine. Match pitch, meaning your voice sounds the same as mine. So I'm going to sing some kind of pattern using these signs and symbols, singing the correct notes. And your job is to echo me and make sure your voice matches my pitch. So here we go. Here's our first one. My turn. Do, re, mi. Your turn. Do, re, mi. My turn. Mi, re, do. Your turn. Mi, re, do. My turn. Do, mi, do. Your turn. Do, mi, do. My turn. Do, mi, fa. Your turn. Do, mi, fa. My turn. Sol, fa, mi. Your turn. Sol, fa, mi. My turn. Sol, la, sol. Your turn. Sol, la, sol. My turn. Sol, fa, mi, re, do. Your turn. Sol, fa, mi, re, do. My turn. Do, re, do. Your turn. Do, re, do. There we go. We're going to keep working on it. Sometimes it might get a little trickier than that. Just do your best. And your main goal is just to listen and try to make your voice sound like mine. Okay. Before we move on, I just want to send out a quick reminder that starting in our next week's video, next week, day 2, we're going to be doing some bucket drumming. So if you haven't yet, just make sure you are looking around your home or whatever space you are in and try to find something that will work like a drum. I'm going to be using a 3-gallon bucket. You can use a Tupperware container. I was looking around my craft room today, and I found these plastic buckets from the dollar store, little baskets that'll work, cardboard box, something like that, and then something that'll work like drumsticks, so pencils or markers or paintbrushes or spoons or something like that. Just have them ready for next week. Okay, we're going to be talking about Aaron Copland today. Aaron Copland was a famous composer, so I boiled down all the stuff I knew about Aaron Copland and put it into kind of a most important information kind of format. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Aaron Copland, tell you about his life, about his music, and then on your own you'll be challenged to listen to one of his music. So here we go. Aaron Copland was born in Brooklyn, New York in the year 1900. That means he was born 121 years ago or so. 121 years ago. Brooklyn, New York. That's in New York. Brooklyn is one of the 5 boroughs of New York. So yeah, New York, which is pretty cool. Although his father was not musical at all, his mother was a singer and a piano player. His brother was a great piano player, and his sister was an opera singer. So his dad wasn't musical, but the rest of his family was. I think it's always interesting to know what musicality, what kind of musicians people's families are. So I just recently found out that my great-grandma, whose name was Muriel, played the violin, and I never knew that before. So I encourage you to go and maybe speak to the grown-ups in your home, grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever you live with, and just ask them what kind of music they used to do. Maybe they played an instrument. Maybe they're singers. It's very interesting to know. When Aaron Copland was 11 years old, he wrote his first musical melody. A melody is just the main part of a song. If we were singing a song, the one that just came to my mind was Shake Them Simmons Down. I think the voice does. That's the main part of the song. That's the melody. So that's pretty cool. He was 11 years old. So that would have put him in maybe around 5th grade or so, a little older than you. He knew he wanted to be a composer by the time he was 15. So when he was around in high school, he wanted to be a composer. A composer is someone who writes music. So just like an author writes books, a composer writes music. So that's pretty cool. I wonder what all of you want to be when you grow up. I wonder if there's any future composers out there. That'd be pretty cool. In his teen years, he attended the symphony and the opera often, and his music teachers described him as being quiet and shy. So he went to the symphony. Symphony is like an orchestra, a big group of people who play violins and violas and cellos and basses and trumpets and trombones and percussion, all those instruments. And he went to the opera. Opera is kind of like a musical, kind of like a play, but they sing everything. There's no dialogue. There's no talking. Everything is sung. I always think it's very interesting that his teachers thought he was quiet and shy, because when you listen to his music, he uses a lot of brass instruments. And from what we know already, brass instruments are not known for being quiet and shy, they're known for being very loud and kind of in your face. So that's kind of interesting. When he was 21, he traveled to Paris to study music. So that's kind of a big jump, going across the ocean to France. Over the next 3 years, he visited other countries, including Italy, Austria, and Germany, to study their music and use it as inspiration to his own. When I think about Aaron Copland, I often wonder what countries some of my scholars would like to travel to. I know that I have family from Austria. I recently found out I'm part Norwegian, part Swedish. So I think it would be very interesting to go back and visit the places where my ancestors are from. And I always think, when you're asking your parents or your grandparents or your caretakers or your grown-ups what instruments they play or what music they do, if they sing, you can also ask them what their heritage is, what countries are their families originally from. I think that is an interesting conversation to have. All right. When he returned to America, he rented an apartment in New York, which kept him very close to Carnegie Hall, an important concert hall. If you look at that picture right above my head, that's Carnegie Hall. That's in New York, and it's a big place you can go to see concerts and symphonies and orchestras, and great music is performed there. A lot of times people say Carnegie Hall is a great place to know that you've made it in the music biz. If you sing at Carnegie Hall, if you play your instruments at Carnegie Hall, it probably means you're pretty good. So that's pretty neat. Copeland was known as the Dean of American Music because he advertised and promoted the careers of other composers such as George Gershwin. George Gershwin wrote Rhapsody in Blue as probably one of his most famous songs. Another one is called An American in Paris, which is pretty cool. Seeing their struggle during the Great Depression, Copeland started to write music for young children. So for those of you who don't know, the Great Depression was a time in America's history in 1929, when the stock market crashed. And what that means is that people that had invested or put a lot of money towards certain businesses lost a lot of money. So it was a time of a lot of poverty. People were very hungry. They didn't have money to, say, go to the movies or, buy new clothes or buy new cars. And it lasted for many, many years. And a lot of people lost their jobs. And it was a hard time to live. So Copeland started to write music for young children just to, make them happy and bring them a little joy in their life. So that makes me think that Aaron Copland was probably a really nice person. In the 1930s, Copeland started to write music that was inspired by the American West. Makes me think of states like Wyoming and Montana, and makes me think of like cowboys and cowgirls and buffalo and stuff like that. In 1939, Copeland started to write music for Hollywood and was paid a lot of money for it. By the time he died, he had a multi-million-dollar fortune. So Aaron Copland had a lot of money because people in Hollywood had a lot of money, and they wanted to hire composers like Aaron Copland. Here he is playing with his orchestra. They wanted to hire people like him to write music for their movies. He is most well known for composing Appalachian Spring, Billy the Kid, and Rodeo. We're going to be listening in a little bit to a song called Hoedown, which is from Rodeo. Aaron Copland lived to be 90 years old. Here's a nice picture of him. I always think he looks funny in that picture. Looks like he's thinking about something very important. Because of the way he wrote music, he is considered by many people to have the best American sound of any composer. So if people from other countries were to come to us and say, hey, what does American music sound like? Someone might play Aaron Copland because it sounds very American from what people say. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing, and this is something you're going to be doing on your own, is listening to a song of his called Hoedown. So in the description below, I've put a link to the song Hoedown. I love this song for a few reasons. First, I think it's a funny song, even though there's no words to it, there's no singing, it's just all instruments. Whenever I hear it, it just makes me kind of laugh inside. When I was in college, I worked with a group called the Mankato Area Youth Symphony Orchestra. And there I got to conduct this song, which was pretty cool. It was one of the first songs that I ever conducted, waving my arms around to lead a band. So that was pretty cool. So it kind of has a special place in my heart. Over here, I have a sheet that I chopped up for you for something that we would do on paper or on whiteboards if we were in person at Prodeo. But I just want you to go through and think about this stuff as you're listening to the song Hoedown. So we're going to go through these different things. And you can either grab your notebook, whiteboard, and write this down, or you can pause the video here, and just think about this as you listen to the song. Okay, so I'm going to go through these first. So the first one up there is tempo. We've talked about tempo a lot. Tempo is the speed of the music. So you can just think when you listen to Hoedown, is it largo, a slow crawling speed? Is it andante, a moderate walking speed? Is it allegro, a brisk skipping speed? Or is it presto, a fast running speed? A lot of times I recommend that kids always start with andante, that's the walking speed, and maybe just, where you're sitting by your table, you move your feet, how fast you walk, and see if that matches the steady beat of a song. If it matches, it's probably andante, around walking speed. If the music feels like the steady beat is slower, then you know it's largo. If the music feels like it's faster than your feet are moving, then it's either allegro or presto. All right, so think about the tempo. Write it down or just put it in your brain. Next is dynamics in the middle on the top there. Now, this dynamic list has 6 different dynamics, which we have not talked about. We've talked about forte, mezzo, and piano in past videos, but there are actually way more than that. So starting at the top with the FF, fortissimo means very, 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 very loud. Next is forte, which means loud. Mezzo forte, which means medium loud. Mezzo piano would be medium soft. Piano means quiet, and pianissimo means very, 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 very quiet. Now, especially in this song, I think that the dynamics change, which is great. That's a way that composers do to kind of make the music sound more interesting if parts of it are a little bit louder, a little bit softer. So when you think about dynamics, you might be like, hey, this part sounds forte to me. Oh, but this other part sounds maybe mezzo piano? I don't know. So dynamics can definitely change in a song. All right, over on the top right, it says articulation. That is the style in which the music is played. So it could be legato, very smooth and connected. Sing legato, oh, flowing from note to note. It could be staccato, short, separated, and snappy. Staccato is short and snappy. Staccato is short as notes can be. And then marcato is strong, accented. Marcato is strong with accents. We sing with strength and deep tone. All right, so just think about it as you listen to Hoedown. Is it legato, staccato, or marcato? Right next to me here, song title and composer. So the song is up there at the top. And then we talked about Aaron Copland today. I always like to answer that question and have scholars write that down. Just because sometimes I have students come to me and say, Mrs. Isles, I really like that song. What was that song we listened to 2 weeks ago called? And it kind of had a cow on the page or something like that. Then you have it written down somewhere and you can check it out later. In the middle on the bottom is instruments. What instruments do you hear? I kind of gave you a little bit of a hint before. When we talked about how Aaron Copland was known as being very quiet and very shy. And I said that's weird because of a certain instrument that I hear him use a lot in his music. So what instruments do you hear? We've talked about a lot of different ones. We've talked about instruments in the string family, like the violin, the cello, the upright bass or double bass. We've talked about brass instruments like the trumpet, the trombone, the French horn, and the tuba. We've talked about percussion instruments like timpani, bass drum, snare drum, maracas, claves, go-go bells, things like that. And then there's woodwind instruments, which are like the flute, the clarinet, the bassoon, the saxophone, things like that. So what instruments do you hear? Also, the voice is an instrument, and there is one part, I'm going to give this to you for free if you listen very closely. There's a part where there's like a yeah kind of cheer in the middle of it. So technically, even though it's for only a second, there's a voice in this song. And then over on the far right is the impact. That just means how the music affects you. So I put 3 little smiley faces. Smiley face means, ooh, I like this song. Mrs. Isles is right. This song's kind of goofy. The face in the middle is like, yep, this song's fine. It's not great. It's not my favorite. But I don't hate it. It's not terrible. It's just fine. And the frowny face, I don't like it, Mrs. Isles. And that's okay too. Because I think we're all unique and different and we all like different things. Underneath those faces, I just put a little line. And that's just if you have extra comments. Maybe you color the smiley face and you say, I love it. You'd write, I love it on there. Or, middle face and it'd be like, this reminds me of an old commercial I used to see. That's what Mrs. Isles thinks of sometimes when she hears a song, an old commercial. Okay, so as you listen to Hoedown, click the link in the description to find it. You're just going to talk about the tempo, dynamics, articulation. What is the song title and the composer's name? Do you remember? What instruments do you hear and what impact it has on you? If you want to take a snapshot of your analysis and send it to me in an email, I would love to see those. I've gotten quite a few. from scholars of all grade levels and all academies. So I love to get those emails. So if you would love to share your thoughts with me, I would love to hear them. I think that would be super great. We only have one thing left to do today, and that is to do our train exit. So breathe with me, Elementary Academy. Here we go. All right, thank you for making music with me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time with more music.